good.
Coach, you got a little break with these guys. Can you talk about these guys coming back after a pretty extended break?
Yeah, it was good to get them back in here yesterday. Had great meetings, got a great workout in. Very blessed and thankful to be to get it in today. We know a lot of bad weather's coming. We want to wish, everybody's in our prayers in the surrounding area. We want to make sure we're taking precaution with these kids and taking care of them and providing opportunities to make sure they're safe because we love them and they're ours. And but we're blessed and thankful to the good Lord for letting us get it in again today. And that's practice 10. We're 10 out of 15. That's 2 out of 3. And in Amory, Mississippi, that'd be 67%. All right, and so we're further along than we were this time last year. We still got a lot we want to get better on. We spent a lot of time in goal line short yardage today and situational. Well, that's all of our helmet days. We'll be in pads for the rest of the time, which is more convenient. It's hard to play football without pads on. And so we're looking forward to getting after it again Thursday and having a real physical practice. But our kids were smart over the break. We continue to build this culture the right way and excited for how they handle spring break with no issues. And we're excited about continuing to move forward with spring ball.
Coming off that scrimmage Friday, I know it's been an extended period, but just looking at that film, can you give me an idea of what you thought, especially from an offensive line perspective, quarterback play?
Yeah, I know I sound like a broken record a lot, Glenn, but I just feel like we're a more bigger physical football team than we were this time last year. We got more bodies. We're able to roll 3 groups in there, from the skill spots all the way through the line and have a real college football practice, which is convenient for everybody because you can get more reps and get more work in. Quarterback-wise, I thought Ty made some phenomenal plays both ways. He's got to eliminate the disastrous play. Made some great plays and some disastrous plays. It's unfortunate when he's in a red jersey because that takes away a lot of his skills, but he's got to learn to play that way in practice, and he will. He's young. Zach continues to grow and learn. He made some really good plays, too. He had the scramble for the long touchdown. And then Trey's been steady Eddie. He's just really consistent and made some good throws. Defensively, Malik Short's made some plays. It was good to see. Swayze Bozeman's been a standout all spring. Avery Hobbs is really coming on and settling into that jack linebacker spot, which he had a great spring at last year. And because we had no depth at inside linebacker, he had to move to inside backer. And then we were able to move him back at the end of the year. But that's his home, and he's really taken to it. And he's had a nice spring as well. Jerquan Scott is really coming on at left guard. Bryson Mays is coming on at center. And I think our young tight ends are playing well. Mitch Sellers and Luke Baker and Cole Cavallo have really had good springs too. Jacarius Caston's been a guy that stood out all spring through 10 practices. Really dynamic with the ball in his hand, really giving us another good number 2 with Brownlee. Hayes Maples. If we can get everybody in our program to play as hard as Hayes Maples does, we're going to win a lot of football games. I've seen a lot of growth in our kicking game. Again, because we got so much more depth. Our units, we had great punt versus punt return competition the other day. We were able to go full groups because we got more players. And, Jay Stanley, guys like Frank Gore, Jay Stanley, Brownlee, they're really playing hard in the kicking game because they know they can, because they know they got depth at wide out, and they know they got to now if they're going to play. And so just continuing to build all the way around,
at this point in the spring, are you still, and I guess because you saved all your padded practices, for this last half, do you feel like you have an idea on things, or do you feel like that there are still spots where there's a lot of competition?
Oh, there's a lot of competition everywhere. There really is, and I'm not just saying that. We're opened up everywhere, every spot. There's intense competition. Even when you look at, let's just look at linebacker. Hayes Maples made a lot of plays here. All right, Swayze Bozeman made a lot of plays here. Santro Latham made a lot of plays here. TQ Newsome, young guy that's made some plays here that's getting better and better. Now you add Dalen Gill to that room. Okay, so only 2 of them can start. Okay, and that's something that's kind of filtering throughout our program. You look at running back. Frank and Dejon ended up the year really, really good for us, and now you add Janari Dean and Kenyon Clay, and Rambo finished the year well. So, we're only playing 1 to 2 running backs at a time. So there's competition filtering throughout everywhere. The only part, we feel like we got to shore some things up. We got to continue to learn our system on the D-line. We're talented there, but we got to learn the system. And then we feel like we've got to continue shoring up just a few spots on the O-line. Not that we don't have players there, but we just got to find the right 5. Like I said, Jerquan and Bryson Mays, Tykeem really coming on. Bolding's playing well. But we continue to work every day.
Could you touch on your comfort level at the tackles? Two, you feel comfortable with 2, 3, you really feel good at 4 guys at this point?
No, really only one. Tykeem Doss is playing really good at a high level. Paul's an older guy at center, Paul Gaynor. That knows our system and loves Southern Miss. He's got to continue to get stronger and continue to get more consistent. And then we got 2 young guys in Calvin McMillan and James Middleton that are really talented, but they haven't played very much football. So they're learning on the run, very complex offensive system coupled with going against a very complicated defensive system. They got 5 more practices. Peyton McKinnon's in that mix too. 5 more practices plus a June, plus a July, plus 22 practices of fall camp to get ready for the season. But we got to continue taking steps, every day with that group.
Is that position still a point of interest in the portal?
Oh,
going
yeah.
Forward?
Yeah. We'll always look to upgrade our team, in any way, shape, or form. But, yeah, if we can add another O-lineman that's a legitimate football player, yeah, we would definitely look to do that.
I think you kind of touched on it, but just at this point in general, which position group do you feel like has made the biggest jump from last season to now?
Well, the biggest jump, I guess, would probably have to be O-line and quarterback just because, we didn't play very well up front last year on the O-line. And then we didn't have a quarterback by the end of the year. So now we're playing a lot better on the O-line. They're all back. We've added talent, and we've added 2 young quarterbacks plus Trey Lowe's back. So now you got Ty Key, Zach Wilkie, Trey Lowe. So we got a lot more talent in the quarterback room. They're older. And then we got more talent in the O-line room, and they're a year older. So that's probably the biggest jump in our football program. But we needed to make big jumps there, right? Because we weren't very good at those 2 spots.
You talk about having Zay back today behind Brownlee.
Yeah, Zay, that was good to have Zay back, because it gives us 3 legitimate X's with all 3 groups. Because Brownlee's had a great spring, Jalen May's having a phenomenal spring, and now you get Zay back to compete, so they're all competing, right there. And Zay's a young kid that's got a lot of talent out of McGee, Mississippi, played for Teddy Dice, and he's got a bright future here.
Coach, can you talk about Tylan Knight and how he's ended up here?
Yeah, so Tylan, number one, him and Cam Harrell give us 2 phenomenal stars at position, which is our nickel position. Cam played at a high level for us last year. Tylan's played at a high level his whole life. They're both very similar from the standpoint they were high school running backs. They were Power 5 signees, and they ended up at Southern Miss. They're both great kids. There he is coming in right there. Tylan's a smiler. He reminds me of me from the standpoint of you never see him with a frown on his face. He understands that it's his responsibility to impact others in a positive way. He takes that responsibility very serious. He was that way at Pearl. I knew that. His high school coach is like an uncle to me, John Perry. He was my dad's O-line coach for a long time. So I've known Tylan since he was a young kid. He's got a great mom and dad. Came from a great football program with a culture very similar to ours. And he walks around with a chip on his shoulder every day, a lot like me. He's been told he was too short to be a great football player his whole life, and he wakes up every day wanting to prove everybody wrong. And that's Southern Miss, right? We wake up every day and people tell us what we can't do, and there's nothing we can't do here. And we wake up every day trying to prove that wrong. And so he's a great fit for here. He's already taken on a leadership role. He'll be dynamic in the kicking game. He's doing a great job on defense. And there may be some times we slip him in on offense too, moving forward once he gets everything down. But we're glad he's here.
I mean, coming out of high school, and kind of a big part of bringing Pearl to that championship. And I had heard that was it the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star game was where, he kind of really made a name for himself in terms of recruiting. Were you at that game?
No, I wasn't. But now anybody that does their homework already knew who he was. He had already made a name for himself. They took Pearl to the state title the year before. All right, and then they won it the next year, and Tylan was one of the best players in the state his junior year, and then he was the best player in the state his senior year. I think with, college recruiters sometimes there's some parameters in which they think you have to fit to be a player. And a lot of times that's true. We see it in the NFL, you got to be a certain height, a certain weight, a certain speed. But there's exceptions to every rule, okay? And Tylan's one of those. And you got to make up for a lack of, if you're deficient in one attribute, you've got to have extra in other attributes. And he's got a lot of extra. He's super explosive, super twitchy, but But what makes him who he is there's an unbelievable competitive nature and an unbelievable spirit about him that you can feel when you're around him. I've only been around him every day. Like I've been around him a lot, but he's been with us since January. I've never run into Tylan and walked away from it and said, you know what, man, I ran into Tylan today. My day just got worse today. You know what I mean? Like, he's not that guy. He's the guy that when you see him, you're happy to see him. You know what I mean? And he makes your day better and you're glad for being around him.
Was it just a no-brainer when